Hello Brainerds, my name is Jason. Welcome to the Big Brain Busters. So in this video we are going to focus on oogenesis. So oogenesis is just simply the formation of mature ova from primordial germ cells. As we said, or as we know, that all these gametes come from unipotent cells which haven't yet differentiated. Okay, then this process of oogenesis occurs in the ovarian cortex, unlike the spermatogenesis process which occurs in the seminiferous tubules. Then this process begins in the 10th week of intrauterine life. Okay, then one thing you should know is that oogenesis, unlike spermatogenesis, it begins in the uterus while the baby is still in the uterus. Okay, then it stops from birth to puberty, then it restarts again at puberty, then it continues until menopause. Okay, so that is how peculiar oogenesis process is. Okay, so before birth, one thing you should know is that before the 3rd month, the primordial germ cells undergo mitosis to form a cell known as oogonia. So this occurs because there is absence of testicular differentiation factor. So if you remember properly, that the presence of a gene or a Y chromosome in an individual, meaning that that Y chromosome will contain a gene known as SRY gene, and meaning that that SRY gene will be it will have an attraction of testicular differentiation factor, meaning that this testicular differentiation factor will be responsible for production of testes. But then, or in short, there will be formation of testes. But then in this case, because it is absent, meaning that a female must be formed because there is no factor that is responsible for what? For stimulating formation of the testes or formation of the sperms. Okay, so now before the 7th month, this oogonia that was formed, it will continue to divide mitotically. Okay, so this is still in the womb. Okay, this baby is still in the womb. Then the oogonia are surrounded by a layer of flat epithelial cells, which are known as follicular cells. Okay, then some of the oogonia before the 7th month enlarge to form primary oocytes. Then during the 7th month, from the 7th month till birth, the primary oocyte that has been formed, it enters the first meiotic division. So this is something that you should take note of, to say the first meiotic division occurs while this baby is still in the womb until birth. Then it is arrested during this process. It is arrested in prophase 1 of meiosis by oocyte maturation inhibitor. Okay, so this factor is the one that arrests this process of what? Of meiotic division. So instead of it proceeding, it is actually arrested in this prophase 1, and specifically the stage of prophase which is arrested is simply diplotin stage. Then the oocyte that has been formed, that has been arrested here, is diploid in chromosome number, meaning that it contains 44 somatic chromosomes and the XX sex chromosomes. Okay. Then from birth till puberty, what happens from birth till puberty? So what happens is that during this period, the primary oocytes are arrested, as we have already mentioned, but there is spontaneous maturation and degeneration of the primordial follicles. So primordial follicles is just simply a combination of the primary oocyte and the follicular cells. So just to make your understanding easy, imagine this is a primary oocyte. Then you have, remember that we said they are made up of flat cells, so you have flat cells around this primary oocyte. So these flat cells and the primary oocyte together, you call it a what? A primordial follicle. Okay, so something like that. That's what we mean. So this primordial follicle, it will result in reduction of number of the primary oocytes. during this period of arrest. Okay, so at the time of birth, all primary oocytes are in the prophase 1 of the first meiotic division. Then at puberty, now when a female reaches puberty, what happens? So what will happen is that there will be completion of the first meiotic division, because that cell needs to do what? It needs to undergo the ovulatory cycle or the ovarian cycle, so that it can be released during ovulation. So that's why it needs to complete the first meiotic division. Then when it completes the first meiotic division, what will happen? What will happen is that there will be production of two unequal daughter cells. So two unequal daughter cells. So let's say, for example, if you have this as uh, your primary oocyte, then since the division is actually unequal, meaning that there will be production of two unequal, the other one will be big and the other one will be smaller, okay, due to cytoplasmic content division, because in this case the cytoplasmic division of this cell was not equal, did not divide equally to give this cell a similar size as this one. So more cytoplasmic content went into this cell and less cytoplasmic content went into this cell. So this cell now will attain the name known as secondary oocyte, because it is big and it is the one that is functional. Then this other one here, this other cell that has been formed, this smaller one, will attain the name as first polar body. Okay, so usually these polar bodies usually degenerate. Okay, so the smaller cell is called the first polar body, and the larger oocyte attains the name secondary oocyte because it will proceed to the next stage. Then immediately when this secondary oocyte is formed, what will happen is that it enters the second meiotic division. Remember that the first meiotic division now is complete, so it enters the second meiotic division. But then again, it does not complete this division. It gets arrested again in metaphase 2. Remember that in the first meiotic division, it was arrested in what? In prophase 1 of what's this, diplotin stage. But then in this case, it is arrested in metaphase 2. Then as ovulation takes place with secondary primordial follicles, these secondary primordial follicles are actually arrested, awaiting for what? Awaiting for fertilization. So meiotic division 2 is only completed when fertilization takes place. Immediately the sperm cell fertilizes that egg. That is when this process of second meiotic division is actually completed. Without that, during ovulation, that ova is actually released while it is arrested in metaphase 2. I hope that makes sense. So this is just simply a diagrammatic presentation of what I've explained. So before birth, remember that this process of oogenesis begins from before birth, while in the uterus of the mother, right? So you have primordial germ cells that are formed, then they migrate to the yolk sac. Then the next thing is that due to continuous proliferation via mitosis, they will form a structure known as oogonium, because in spermatogenesis we were calling it what? We were calling it a spermatogonium, but then in this case we call it oogonium. Then due to mitosis and cell differentiation, this oogonium will will become now a what? A primary oocyte. This is before birth. Okay, then from birth until puberty, this stage here, you find that this cell that had undergone the first meiotic division is arrested in prophase 1 of diplotin stage. Then this primary oocyte at puberty, what will happen is that first meiotic division will be completed, and then we'll have formation of the first polar body and the secondary oocyte. So as you can see, the secondary oocyte is actually larger than the first polar body. So why do we call this a polar body? Because it will get degenerated. The one with more cytoplasmic content is the one that will proceed to the next stage. Then this secondary oocyte will undergo this, will immediately go through the second meiotic division, but then it will be arrested again in the metaphase 2 stage. And when it has been arrested, meaning that during ovulation it will be released as it is arrested in metaphase 2, then it is only a sperm cell that will complete the second meiotic division cycle. Okay, so when a sperm, if fertilization takes place, the second meiotic division does what? It completes, and then that is where we produce the second polar body, and this cell here that proceeds is a fertilized egg. Alright, so this is where we end our video on oogenesis. I hope you've watched both spermatogenesis and this video. I hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to please like, share, and subscribe as we proceed with more videos. As you subscribe, you will be getting most of our updates and more videos and more contents. With that being said, we close this video here. Have a nice day or evening. Shalom, shalom.